Should the dungeon master or game master be for or against the players? In World War II, the German army was arguably the best trained army at the start of the war. And there's anecdotal evidence that they set a set of goals when they trained their servicemen, that they wanted a death rate, a fatality rate during basic training of 1 to 2%. The idea was that more than 2% and the training was too hard, and less than 1% and they were not training hard enough. Now, I did some research and I couldn't find any actual evidence of that except some anecdotal statements about it. But if it was true, would the officers in charge of the training be for or against their own troops? That's an interesting question. In Glory Road, Robert Heinlein wrote the book Glory Road, and he says, after completing a long quest, the hero realizes they could have skipped all the dangerous adventures along the way and just gone to the very end. And when the hero questions this, he gets asked an interesting question. But would you have won? Would you have had that keen edge of readiness it took at the end to win the battle? When I started playing Dungeons and Dragons I started with original Dungeons and Dragons, the old 3 books plus Greyhawk. And after a while of gaming for several years, I actually determined my fatality rate was 25%. That is, approximately 25% of the characters that walked into the adventure would be dead at the end of the adventure. 1 in 4. Now I'm gaming with 5th edition. Maybe I've mellowed, maybe I haven't, I'm not really sure. On almost every adventure, one or more of the characters goes to 0 hit points. Now, characters in 5th edition don't die when they go to 0 hit points. It's that. So I actually have this hard question, what is my fatality rate? Because a lot of characters, they go to 0 hit points, but they don't actually die. So that's a question that I haven't come up with an answer for. Am I old softy now or not? And that's one of the things like that. One of the questions I have to personally answer. And it says, is an adventure really a challenge if nothing bad can happen to a character? As the old saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We used to use the phrase Monty Hall adventures, where characters would go out and they'd come back with an armful of treasure and loot, and the DM would just hand them out and no one was ever challenged. Is that what I'm hearing, that people are saying, I don't want to be challenged? So if the dungeon master kills a player character, is he against the player or not? If the DM has a large bird dump a load of excrement on a character, is the DM against that player? That makes you kind of wonder about that. Because, are your characters going out and fighting butterflies, or what are they actually fighting? Is there a chance that they will actually die? And let me be clear, I have had the party attacked by butterflies and by squirrels. Yes, those were actually quite humorous adventures, because the party always had the one, I still remember the one where they were attacked by a bunch of mice, not giant rats, normal little mice. And that was an interesting adventure. But what happens is that because the party's always terrified, do I kill it or not? Because if it's really, does that trigger something else? But that's just my nefarious way of gaming. But the 4th edition and the 5th edition provide mechanisms for scaling the adventures. And I encourage you to use that, because it allows you to make the adventures more appropriate for your party. So you can add or remove or change monsters based upon the size of the party that's going through there. But let's get in some more interesting questions. If the DM challenges the player, not the character, with interesting moral dilemmas, is the DM against the player? If the DM has a non-player character come up and attempt to seduce a player character, is that challenging their morals? That's a harder question. If the DM makes the player think, is the DM against the player? If the DM presents viewpoints that go against dearly and closely held beliefs, is the DM against the player? So you've got this cherished belief that, something is, we would never do this, or that we shouldn't do that, or whatever you pick it out to be. If I challenge, as a DM, if I challenge that viewpoint in the game, am I against the player? One of my goals is to make players think. Making players think may present them with uncomfortable ideas. I feel that encouraging people to think is a very good thing, and definitely for the people. If they're triggered and uncomfortable with them in the short term, I don't care. The question is that you should be able to think outside the box. You should understand critical thinking. You should be able to think and evaluate ideas. So I believe I am for the players by making them think about uncomfortable ideas occasionally. As long as you all have fun, and I have a lot of fun with this. So I encourage you to have fun, but don't shy away from issues. Make the players think. If you like my video, press the thumbs up button. I'd appreciate that. Or if this interests you, you can always subscribe to my channel. There's a button right above. I look forward to hearing some comments. Tell me what you think about this, and I'll try and reply, and we can see if I'll do some more of these. Thank you.